Heartwarming journey. Abandoned wife inspires change by adopting 3 hidden heirs to 60M. Sarah stood in her small kitchen, the morning sun lighting up her tear-streaked face as she read the note from her husband. "I can't do this anymore. I'm leaving." Just weeks prior, her life made sense. She had a steady job waiting tables, a husband who promised to support her, and dreams of building a family. Now, all of that shattered into pieces, leaving her to pick up the fragments alone. She could feel the weight of responsibility pressing down. Bills were piling up, and lurid whispers of neighbors echoed in her mind. Alone, she had to find a way through the wreckage. Days turned into weeks. As she served coffee and pancakes to diners at Gilda's Diner, she built a silent fortress of resilience around herself. One evening, while walking home beneath the amber glow of street lamps, she noticed a dilapidated house shrouded in shadows. Curiosity pulled her closer. There, through a broken window, she caught glimpses of 3 siblings huddled together, their faces etched with loneliness, her heart twisted. They were just kids, unfettered youths caught in a cage built by their father's disdain. Without thinking, she approached them. Their names were Lily, Jonah, and Marco. She soon learned of the wealth they had been born into and the crumbling chains of their circumstances cast aside by their elite father, hidden away like forgotten treasures. Sarah spent every free moment with them. Each laugh echoed in the empty corners of the house, bringing a rush of warmth to her cold heart. Their dreams awakened something inside her that she thought had died when her husband left. She realized she needed them just as much as they needed her. She envisioned a vibrant life where they could laugh freely, live openly, and be enveloped in love. Each day she left the diner, hopes soared a little higher. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Sarah knew she needed to spread the word. Empowered by their bond, she organized a community fundraiser to collect funds for fostering the siblings into a family. With flyers adorned with bright colors announcing hope for the hidden hearts, she knocked on doors, leaving behind whispers of hope that met with a good deal of scoffs. The upper crust of her community raised an eyebrow at Sarah. They saw her as a waitress, someone trying to stir trouble in their well-orchestrated lives. But she stood firm. The children's laughter lingered in her heart, spurring her on despite the bitterness swirling around her. Then, just when her little fundraiser seemed to gather a spark of support, she crossed paths with their father, a polished man cloaked in arrogance. The tension crackled between them like lightning. She confronted him, demanding he see the error of his ways and the worth of his children beyond dollar signs. As the intensity mounted, Sarah's voice shook with emotion. Would her truth cut through the blind snobbery, standing in the way of family and love? The room fell silent, hearts racing, as Sarah hoped for redemption, not just for herself, but for every soul yearning to find their place in the world. Would the fight for those hidden hearts unite a community, or tear it apart? Sarah's heart raced as she locked eyes with the children's father. The air around them seemed to thicken, heavy with the weight of unspoken words and desperate hopes. She took a deep breath, trying to steady her shaking hands. "They deserve a chance, Tom. They're more than financial transactions," she spoke, her voice breaking the tension like glass shattering. The man sneered, brushing off her plea as if it were a pesky fly. "What do you know about their lives? You're just a waitress. What can you possibly offer?" His words were like ice, cutting through her heart. But in that moment, something inside Sarah ignited a fierce determination anchored in love. "More than you ever have." She shot back, surprising even herself. The children shifted behind her, watching the encounter unfold with wide, anxious eyes. They were the reason for her courage, the driving force propelling her forward. As she spoke, the chatter in the room faded away. "I've seen how they light up when they talk about their dreams. That they want to be artists, scientists. They want to experience life." She paused, the vulnerability in her voice clear. "You've locked them away. You've deprived them of love and connection. No amount of money can fill that void." Tom's expression hardened, a wall of pride blocking any hint of recognition. "They're my children, and I'll do what's best for them," he retorted, but his tone faltered slightly, revealing a glimpse of uncertainty. "Is that really what's best? Is that what any parent would want?" Sarah pressed on, her voice rising with the thoughts cascading through her mind. "You built a prison around them, believing that wealth could replace affection. But it can't. It never can." A moment of silence ensued, just after her words faded into the air. Sarah could feel eyes on her from every corner of the room, waiting to see how this would unfold. She took another step toward Tom, the distance between them narrowing. "Take a chance on them, please. Let them discover the world. Let them be loved." Tom's jaw tightened, and for that split second, she was unsure if she dissuaded him or simply disrupted the calm surface of his indifference. But before he could respond, murmurs swept through the small crowd witnessing this exchange. Many reflected her sentiments, slowly murmuring words of support all around her as they saw the truth in her words. Yet, just as she felt a glimmer of hope, a familiar face pushed through the crowd. It was Christine, one of the wealthier women from the community, a friend of Tom. "What's this? A waitress trying to enlighten a father? It's utterly ridiculous." She spat, dismissing Sarah sharply. Christine's words struck like thunder, and doubt pricked at the edges of Sarah's resolve. But then, out of the corner of her eye, she caught sight of Lily, Jonah, and Marco peering from behind the doorframe. Their faces were a mixture of hope and fear, and in that instant, Sarah found her strength again. This was bigger than just her. It was about them. "Even if I'm just a waitress, I'm fighting for their future, and I won't back down," she declared fiercely, grounding herself in the moment. She turned to face Christine and Tom both. "I am their advocate, and together we can create something beautiful, give them the life they've been denied." The room buzzed with whispers and shifting opinions, as some began to nod in agreement while others sneered. Tom was caught in the crossfire of loyalty and the unwillingness to acknowledge the pain he'd caused. As tension hung thick in the air, Sarah took a breath, looking over her shoulder to see the kids, their eyes shining with hope intertwined with uncertainty. Would the community rise to her side? But what could she do next to show him the truth of love beyond riches? Would she be able to win over not only the children's father, but the very community who viewed her in disdain? The stakes were rising, and Sarah felt her heart beat with renewed vigor. In that moment, everything hinged on her next move. Would her words protect their fragile dreams, or would they dissolve in the face of societal barriers? The murmurs echoed in her ears as Sarah stood tall, her heart pounding fiercely against her ribcage. Christine's derision was palpable, radiating through the crowd like an unsought chill. Still, Sarah felt the warmth of newfound support swell around her. Faces she recognized from the cafe blended with strangers, their expressions lit with curiosity, flickering between uncertain doubt and hope. Could she really do this? Could she truly challenge a father's hold over his children? Tom's eyes flickered as he scanned the crowd. The weight of expectation pressed down on him, and for just a moment, Sarah thought she saw the cracks in his icy demeanor begin to show. But then he regained his composure, crossing his arms defiantly. "You think you can come in here with your naive ideas and change my mind?" He shot back, a flicker of anger sparking in his voice. "You don't know anything about being a parent." "No, I don't," Sarah replied, pouring every ounce of sincerity into her words. "But I know what it means to love someone. I know what it means to want the best for them, what they deserve." The fierce truth of her statement cut through the tension like a knife. Pushing onward, she continued, "You're right. They're your children. But are they your prisoners? Love isn't just about providing money. It's about sharing moments, dreams, and laughter. Don't you want that for them? Don't you want to see their faces light up when they accomplish something, just for the joy of it?" The room went quiet, the weight of her question hanging thick in the air. Jonah took a tentative step forward, piercing his hopeful eyes into Tom's. "Dad?" he whispered, almost inaudibly. Lily and Marco remained slightly behind, holding on to each other as if the shared fear would keep them grounded in a world of uncertainty. Seeing her opportunity, Sarah's voice softened. "You know the world can be so beautiful, don't you, Tom? Let them experience it. Give them the love they need. Please." Tom shifted, uncertainty clashing with fury in his eyes, clearly wrestling with conflicting emotions. The more Sarah spoke, The more the room began to shift in her favor, as whispers of agreement crept back through the crowd. Christine, sensing the tide turning, stepped closer, her disdain morphing into desperation. You'll ruin them. They need structure, discipline. They'll never survive in the real world without a strong hand guiding them. Her response was charged, marking her desperation to cling to preconceived notions. But Sarah met Christine's gaze, unwavering. Then show them how to thrive, not just survive. Structure can't replace love. They're not your possessions, Christine. They're children. The room was now a simmering cauldron of raw emotions. Sarah could feel hope and trepidation mixing in the air. Tom's face was a tapestry of emotions, and as he wrestled with his decisions, something shifted. A moment of vulnerability cracked through the layers he'd built up around himself. She could see the hesitation ripple through him, the slightest hint of a realization glimmering in his eyes. It was then that Sarah took a small, cautious step closer, lowering her voice to one of gentle persuasion. What if I help you? Together we can show them how to be loved and have the life they dream of. Would you really be able to deny them that? As Sarah finished speaking, the air in the room pulsed with anticipation. Where fear and doubt hung moments ago, there was now a hint of possibility. Just then, as she thought Tom might finally crack, a raucous laugh echoed from the back of the room, shattering the tension. All heads turned as a man strolled in with confidence, his presence demanding immediate attention. What's this? A little heart-to-heart or a soap opera in action? Huh? Gasps filled the space as more than one pair of eyes fixed on the newcomer. Who was this unexpected figure, and what role would he play in the unfolding drama? The laughter faded as the man approached, a swagger in his step that drew all eyes toward him. He was tall, with sharp features and an air of confidence that seemed out of place in the tension-fueled moment. Sarah's heart raced, unsure if he was there to help or to further complicate the situation. Name's Rick, he announced, his voice booming yet casual, as if he were merely stepping onto a stage in a comedy club rather than stepping into the home of a man torn between love and control. I couldn't help but overhear some of your heartfelt arm wrestling over there. He gestured lightly at Sarah and Tom with a theatrical flair. And wow, what a show! Discomfort rippled through the crowd. Some chuckled awkwardly, while others shifted their weight uneasily. Look, Tom said, his annoyance flashing evident. This is a private matter, sure. Sure, Rick interrupted, raising a hand in mock surrender. But you see, private matters tend to become public events when kids are involved. Especially when those kids deserve the best life has to offer. His gaze swept over the three children, and Sarah could see Lily, Marco, and Jonah instinctively leaning toward him, drawn by his infectious energy. Listen, buddy, Tom barked, heat rising in his voice. I don't think you know. No, you're right. Rick exclaimed, throwing his hands in the air dramatically. I don't know you, your parenting style, or your family drama. But I do know kids. And I know that it's not enough to just put food on the table. They need guidance, laughter, love, and most importantly, freedom to explore their passions. The room seemed to lean into Rick's words. It was as if the tension had cracked just enough to let in a shaft of light. Can't you see? He continued, locking his eyes onto Tom. These kids are more than extensions of you. They're their own little human beings, just bursting with potential. Think of the lives they could lead, the dreams they could chase if someone nurtured their happiness instead of suffocating it. Sarah's heart ached. She felt the very air vibrate with an undeniable sense of possibility threaded through Rick's every word. Jonah, emboldened by the change in atmosphere, stepped closer to Tom. Dad, he's right. I want to try new things, not just do what you say. What if I want to dance? Or write? Or just breathe without feeling stuck? His voice cracked with emotion, and Sarah could see the tears welling in his eyes. Tom glanced at Jonah, and for a heartbeat, the mask slipped. Conflicted emotions intermingled on his face: anger, fear, and helpless love. He looked back at Rick, searching his eyes. What makes you think you can waltz in and fix my family? Tom demanded, a tough edge to his voice, but even he knew it was laced with insecurity. Because, my friend, Rick replied, his tone shifting to genuine concern, the love you might be holding back could set everyone free. Everyone, including you. For a moment, silence enveloped them all. That single realization hung in the air, heavy with potential. Suddenly, Christine stepped up, her previous bravado faltering. "You don't know what you're talking about," she shouted, though the determination in her voice wobbled. But Rick was unfazed. "And you don't know how to love without conditions," he shot back, unwavering. It was a bold violation of the quiet space they all shared. The energy shifted again, weaving an invisible thread of solidarity. Whispers of agreement danced among the crowd. As Sarah watched, she noticed more faces leaning forward, hope igniting behind once doubtful eyes. If Rick had sparked something in the crowd, perhaps there was a way forward yet. She could feel the tide turning. Just then, Tom's phone buzzed, rattling the quiet. He pulled it out, irritation flaring on his features. But upon looking at the screen, his expression shifted to bewilderment. "What now?" he muttered. "What is it?" Sarah asked, her pulse quickening. Tom's eyes widened. "It's my lawyer." The urgent tone in his voice, the weight of impending news, sent a chill down Sarah's spine. What could this mean for the fragile moment they had just shaped, and did it threaten the newfound hope that flickered in the room? A heavy silence fell in the room as Tom's words sunk in. Sarah felt the atmosphere shift, the warmth of hope receding like a tide. The children, who had dared to believe in a different future, now stood frozen, caught between the promise of change and the looming threat of a phone call. "What does your lawyer want?" Jonah asked, his voice barely a whisper. The vulnerability in his tone tugged at Sarah's heart like a raw nerve. The potential for freedom, for self-expression, was hinged on a single conversation, and now it felt like the ground was slipping beneath their feet. Tom's fingers gripped his phone, his knuckles whitening. "I don't know yet," he said, but the strain in his voice betrayed him. His confidence was cracking, and Sarah saw the swift dance of fear etching lines on his face. She stepped forward, driven by a need to break the tension. "Tom, we can't let this moment go. Whatever news you get, we're all in this together," she urged, meeting his eyes with determination. Rick's gaze pierced through the growing chaos. "What matters now is how you choose to react. Those kids are watching," he reminded, his voice steady and firm. Tom exhaled, lowering his phone as if it had become a weight too heavy to bear. "I can't just ignore this. It's about the future," he stammered, grappling for the right words as regret flickered in his eyes. "The future?" Rick echoed, eyebrows raised. "You were all set to create a new one just now." Tension hung thick in the air, and the children exchanged uncertain glances. Marco shifted on his feet, visibly anxious, and finally broke the silence. "We just want to chase our dreams, isn't that worth fighting for?" "Absolutely," Rick shot back, turning his attention to Tom. "More than any lawyer or court decision. You can fight for it right now here, while you still have the chance." Sarah felt a fire ignite within her, bolstered by Rick's words. "Jonah's right. We can make changes, real changes. But we can't let that phone dictate our lives." Tom's expression wavered. For the first time, she saw the doubt woven through his resolve. "But what if my lawyer has bad news? What if they don't?" Rick countered, his voice steady. The crowd murmured softly, thoughts swinging toward possibility instead of despair. "What if this is the beginning of something beautiful for your family?" Suddenly, the phone buzzed again, almost mockingly. Tom's hand trembled as he hesitated, caught in a battle between what he held onto and what he was being offered. With bated breath, Sarah stepped closer. "You have the choice to let them become who they're meant to be," she said softly. "You don't have to do this alone." Time seemed to freeze. A collective breath held against the reality of what came next. The children were watching, hope flickering in their eyes, and Sarah knew they all felt that this was a crossroads, not just for Tom, but for all of them. Tom's gaze shifted back to his phone. The uncertainty in his eyes collided with the weight of responsibility. And then, just before he raised it to his ear, Sarah whispered, "Whatever this is, remember that you're not just protecting your future, you're shaping theirs too." Tom looked up, the flicker of fear in his eyes softening. Steeling himself, he tapped the screen and brought the phone to his ear. "Hello," he started, but the words stopped short, and the room seemed to hold its breath alongside him. And then he turned to the crowd, his expression shifting as the voice on the other end revealed something unexpected. "Wait, what did you say?" He glanced at Sarah, excitement sparking back to life, but confusion shadowing his features. "What is going on?" Sarah asked, her pulse racing once more. What had been said on the line? Did it hold the power to change everything they had fought for? Tom's expression shifted again, uncertainty giving way to a rush of hope. They're open to negotiations, he said, his voice barely above a whisper. The words hung in the air, crackling with a mixture of disbelief and cautious optimism. The children leaned forward, wide-eyed, as if trying to catch every syllable. Sarah felt her own heart leap. What does that mean, Tom? He raised a hand briefly, shushing them as he listened intently. I'm not sure yet, but it could mean we might have a chance to talk about our terms, a chance to make things right. Jonah's eyes sparkled with anticipation. Like a real chance? He struggled to contain his excitement. Tom nodded, but the weight of the news didn't settle easily on his shoulders. We need to come together, to present a united front, he said. They want to see how committed we are to this. It's not just about me, it's about all of us. They want to know if we can really make this change happen. Rick stepped forward, a look of determination on his face. Then we do it. We show them that we're serious. We write down everything we believe in, everything we dream of. Tomorrow, we'll meet and plan our pitch. The group buzzed with excitement, the weight of fear lifting piece by piece. Sarah felt the warmth of hope wrap around her again, pulsing with energy. She glanced at the children, their faces lighting up with possibility, with the essence of dreams they had tucked away, and she couldn't help but smile. Tom remained silent for a moment, his eyes distant, as if he were staring into a future he was trying to grasp. Finally, he said, "But what if they don't believe us? What if we're just another family with empty promises?" "That is not going to happen," Sarah said firmly, stepping closer. "We want to let that be our story. We have to believe in ourselves and in each other. We've come this far, haven't we?" Marco piped up, a hint of that fiery determination igniting. "We've worked too hard to give up now. We're stronger than they think." With every little word, the room filled with an unshakable energy. Tom's face softened, his resolve rebuilding as he looked at each of them. "Okay then, let us meet here tomorrow. We'll draft our message and present it to them together." As they began to disperse, an overwhelming wave of camaraderie surged through the room. Warm smiles replaced anxious frowns. There was a rhythm to their hope, and Sarah felt a sense of belonging that she hadn't known in a long time. Sarah stayed back a moment longer, watching the children talk animatedly, their laughter a melody of newfound confidence. Tom stood next to her, his gaze wandering over the hopeful scene. "I don't know if we can pull this off, but seeing them like this, it gives me courage. It's only the beginning," she said softly, her voice carrying a promise. "But if we fight together, there's no limit to what we can achieve." Just then, Tom took a deep breath as if steeling himself for the upcoming challenge. But something in his eyes shifted, hope mingled with an undeniable sense of possibility. Then, he turned to Sarah, an unexpected question on his lips. "If we succeed, if everything changes, what will you do?" Her heart thudded as she considered her answer. The dreams she'd pushed aside surged forward, clamoring for attention. "Well, that's just it," she replied, smile shining bright. "I think we'll write our own story. Together." Their eyes locked, understanding weaving a new bond between them, one built on faith and shared dreams. Yet as they parted ways for the night, the question lingered in Sarah's mind. Would they really be able to face whatever challenges came their way, or would they be swept up again in uncertainty? As she stepped into the chill of the evening air, a single thought echoed within her. Tomorrow could change everything. But would it? The morning sun broke through the clouds, casting a warm golden veil over the town. Sarah woke with a mixture of anxiety and determination coursing through her veins. Today was the day, a pivotal moment that could change everything. She stretched, taking a deep breath as she tried to shake off the remnants of last night's doubts. In the kitchen, the scent of pancakes filled the air. The children were already gathered at the table, giggling and pushing their plates toward each other. Seeing their carefree laughter, Sarah felt a rush of warmth. It was a reminder that they were fighting for this joy, for a future lined with dreams instead of dread. "Can we have chocolate chips in the pancakes?" Little Jonah asked, his eyes sparkling with expectation. "Of course," Sarah laughed, even as her mind skipped ahead to the negotiations. Would they be able to strike the right tone? Would their dreams resonate with the decision-makers? She forced a smile as she whipped together the batter, trying to focus on the present moment. As the kids gobbled up the pancakes, the doorbell rang unexpectedly. It was Tom, clutching a folder of papers, His face lit up with purpose. "Are you ready?" he asked, leaning against the doorframe. "At least they're fed," Sarah replied, nodding to the children. Each of them, crumbs dotting their cheeks, nodded back enthusiastically, sharing in the excitement filling the room. Tom stepped inside, glancing at the playful chaos before turning his attention back to Sarah. "I've jotted down some points we should emphasize today," he said, handing her the folder. "I think if we focus on our unity, our commitment not just for us, but what we can bring to the community, it'll make a difference." Sarah skimmed through the pages, heart racing. "This is great, but we can't just make promises. We need some real, actionable steps. They'll want to see how serious we are." "Then let us lay those out too," Tom said, his gaze intense yet reassuring. "We've got this. Together, we can show them what we stand for." As the children finished their breakfast, Rick arrived, joining Tom in sorting through the materials. Sarah couldn't help but feel the nervous anticipation in the air as each member of their group arrived one by one. Each person brought their unique energy, weaving a rich tapestry of hope. "What do we do if they push back?" Marco asked, his brow furrowed with concern. "Then we push back harder," Tom replied confidently. "We show them there's no way we're giving up on our dreams or on each other." Their eyes held a resoluteness that matched the determination in Sarah's heart. She could see the shift, the undeniable change gracing each of their expressions as they fed off one another's energy. They were no longer just a group of individuals fumbling through uncertainty. They were becoming a force as they packed the folder into backpacks. Excitement mingled with tension crackled in the space between them. They stepped outside, allowing the warmth of the day to fill their lungs. With every step toward the meeting place, Sarah felt the weight of the world shifting. But as they neared their destination, a sense of trepidation washed over her, planting seeds of doubt. What if they weren't ready? What if everything they built crumbled in front of them? Tom must have sensed her energy shift because he paused and placed a hand on her shoulder. "Look, we can't control how they react, but we can control how we approach them, how we present our dreams. One foot at a time, right?" "Right," she affirmed, her heart steadying with his reassuring words that as they arrived, the building loomed before them, overwhelming yet inviting. Sarah took a deep breath, ready to face whatever awaited them inside. Just as they gathered together in a huddle, a thought crossed her mind. Would they truly be able to show their strength and unity? Could they convert their dreams into reality today? Just then, the door swung open, and a familiar face peered out. It was the head of the negotiations, a figure who could change the course of their lives forever. "Are you ready?" he asked, an eyebrow raised, awaiting their response. In that moment, Sarah realized the truth hit harder than any doubt. They had come too far to turn back. It was time to make their stand. Would they seize the opportunity or let it slip away? The air inside the building felt electric, buzzing with the tension of unspoken hopes. Sarah could hear her heart thumping in her chest, a steady drumbeat that matched her quickened breath. The man at the door, Mr. Simmons, stood with a professional calm, but she sensed the stakes were higher than anyone was letting on. "Ready as we'll ever be," Tom finally said, stepping forward with a confidence that made Sarah's spirits lift. The group formed a small arch of support around her, and as Mr. Simmons gestured for them to enter, she gathered her resolve. Inside, the conference room was stark and sterile, unwelcoming, yet formal. A long table gleamed under the fluorescent lights, surrounded by a few serious faces, each one poised with a mix of curiosity and skepticism. This was where their dreams would either take flight or falter. As they settled into their seats, Sarah felt a weight pressing down on her. She looked at each of her friends, their expressions mirroring her own apprehension. "Thank you for coming," Mr. Simmons began, his voice steady. "We're eager to hear what you've prepared." Sarah's breath caught in her throat. She had rehearsed this moment in her mind 1,000 times, but this was real, filled with emotion and urgency. She glanced at the folder in front of her, the pages filled with their hopes, their plans, the future they yearned for. Tom spoke first, laying out the groundwork they had discussed. He emphasized their commitment to not just their own needs, but the community as a whole, painting pictures of brighter days ahead. The room began to shift as his words wove a tapestry of possibilities. But then, the question started. "What makes you think you have the expertise to handle this project?" One man challenged, his arms crossed, a smirk forming on his lips. Are you truly in this together? Or is this just a fleeting passion? Another question. Sarah's heart sank. The doubts crept back like unwanted shadows. Would their unity hold strong in the face of such scrutiny? She felt the weight of every eye on her, waiting for her to crumble. But then, she thought of the laughter of her children, the twitch of excitement in Jonah's eyes when he asked for chocolate chip pancakes. With resolve, she leaned forward, her voice steady. Because we are living this. We are not just groups of individuals. We are a community bound by shared dreams and sweat. Our commitment goes beyond paperwork. We've already started. We can show you what we mean. She reached for a document in her backpack, images of their activities, community cleanups, the youth programs they had organized. This is proof of our dedication. It's not just talk. Let us show you. As she handed the folder across the table, she noticed a shift. The skeptical expression softened, replaced by a flicker of genuine curiosity. For the next hour, they shared their stories, their passions, but more importantly, they shared their hearts. With every challenge thrown their way, they responded with unity and strength. They pushed back gently, empowering one another with hopes and dreams. As they approached the end of the meeting, Sarah felt a mixture of exhilaration and exhaustion. They had put everything on the line, and the tension in the room was palpable. Finally, Mr. Simmons leaned back in his chair, steepling his fingers. You've given us a lot to consider. Let us evaluate your proposal, and we'll get back to you by the end of the week. They left the meeting, a swirl of relief and disbelief surrounding them. Had they done enough? Were they truly ready for what laid ahead? As they stepped back into the bright daylight, the world felt different, filled with possibilities. But just when Sarah thought she could breathe, her phone buzzed in her pocket, shattering the moment. She pulled it out to see a new message from an unknown number. Sarah, it's time to talk about the inheritance. You need to hear the truth. Her heart dropped. What did that mean? What truth? Just when they had taken a step forward, was the ground shifting beneath her again. The sunlight streamed through the fresh air outside, but Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. She stood frozen, her hand clutching the phone tightly. The street buzzed with life around her, but her world had suddenly narrowed to that one haunting message. Her heart raced, and the warm glow of hope from the meeting felt miles away. Sarah? Tom's voice broke through the fog of her thoughts, concern etched on his face. Is everything okay? She hesitated, the weight of the moment threatening to crush her. I just received a message. About something I didn't expect. What do you mean? He pressed, stepping closer. It's about an inheritance, a truth I thought I left behind, she whispered, her breath hitching. Tom's brows knitted together. An inheritance? From whom? His voice was steady, but she could sense his worry. Her friends had just begun to emerge from the shadows of their struggles, and now this whispered risk loomed over them like a gathering storm. I don't know yet. It's from an unknown number, Sarah admitted. The words hung in the air, heavy with implications. Could this news unravel everything they had fought for? Let us figure it out together, he suggested resolutely. We can't let fear stop us now, not after everything we've just presented. She nodded and exhaled slowly, as if trying to push through the fear. With Tom by her side, she felt a little stronger, the community bond palpably surrounding her. They headed back to the others, who waited expectantly. What happened? Jonah asked, concern flickering across his face. Just a minor distraction, Sarah replied, though it felt like a lie. She chose to shield her friends from the storm brewing inside her. We've just got to stay focused on what's ahead. Each of her friends banded around her again, a shield against the uncertainties that rattled within. They talked and laughed, but Sarah couldn't fully absorb the warmth of the moment. Instead, her mind was working overtime, piecing together the inheritance she had believed was settled years ago. That night, she sat at the kitchen table, the same one where her children gathered for meals, long talks, and laughter. The creak of the wood beneath her felt familiar yet foreign, as if she were straddling two lives. She opened her laptop, her fingers trembling slightly over the keyboard as she searched for clues. All she knew was that her estranged father had left behind something that had stung more than just her pride. The clock ticked painfully, each second underscoring her mounting anxiety. Photos of her children filled the screen, pictures of their smiles, reminders of why she fought uphill constantly. But beneath them lingered the unshakable truth of her past, bitter and complicated. After a painstaking hour, A name popped up on the screen: Will of Thomas Rivers. A chill raced through her as she hit the link. The reality crashed over her: unexpected beneficiaries, hidden clauses, and a family she thought she never had. Sarah felt lightheaded. Answers were starting to swirl around her like a frenzied dance. Yet with every revelation came more questions. Could this really impact her life and the dreams she wanted to build with her friends? As she clicked deeper into the document, panic and excitement mingled within her chest. Just as she began to comprehend the gravity of the situation, another message chimed in. Meet me at Rosie's Diner tomorrow. There's much to discuss about your future, Sarah. Her hands trembled again, unsure of this new path. Was it a chance or another layer of complication? Her heart pounded, not just from fear, but a strange flicker of hope. What did this mean for her and her friends? And deep down, what was the real truth she was about to unravel? Determination ignited within her. Whatever this conversation held, she would face it head-on. With the belief that nothing could keep her from her dreams, she braced herself for what lay ahead, the weight of the past tangling with the promise of the future. All she could do was wonder what awaited her at Rosie's Diner that might change everything she thought she knew. The sun rose bright and ready, casting golden rays through the kitchen window where Sarah stood. Breakfast was bubbling on the stove, but her mind was miles away, spinning with thoughts of that mysterious message. Who had reached out about her father as well? What secrets lay hidden within? Goosebumps prickled her arms, but she shook them off, focusing instead on the faces of the three kids who had become her world. Lily, Jonah, and Marco filled the kitchen with their laughter, the sound echoing against the walls like a refreshing balm to her spirit. She took a moment to absorb their joy. It anchored her, reminding her of all they had fought for together. As they sat together at the table, the burden of anticipation hung in the air, a shared understanding that today was crucial. "What's our plan, Sarah?" Tom asked, joining them as he entered. There was a confidence in his voice that reassured her. "I received another message about my father as well." She kept her tone light, pretending the weight wasn't pressing against her chest. "I need to meet someone at Rosie's Diner. It could be important." "What do you think it's about?" Marco asked, eyes wide with curiosity. "I don't know yet. But whatever it is, I promise to be honest with you all about it." Her voice steadied her heart. She noticed the kids nodding in solemn understanding. "And we'll face this together, just like we faced everything else." The road moved beneath them like a river as they piled into the car, excitement and apprehension swirling between them. The air buzzed with possibilities. Sarah took a deep breath, concentrating on the now, her dreams merging with those of the three children who had volunteered to walk alongside her on this unpredictable journey. As they pulled up to Rosie's, a familiar wave of comfort washed over her. The warm lights spilled out onto the pavement, casting shadows of hope in the doorway. Something about that diner always managed to bring solace and clarity. Walking through the entrance, the scent of coffee and freshly baked pastries enveloped her, a fragrant reminder of all the good that existed despite the challenges they faced. She spotted a figure sitting alone at the far corner booth, a man in a sharply cut suit, his demeanor calm yet serious. "Is that him?" Jonah whispered, pointing discreetly. "Guess we'll find out." Sarah approached the table, steeling herself. "Are you?" "Mr. Johnson," he said, meeting her gaze with an intensity that sent a shiver down her spine. "I represent your father's estate. Thank you for coming." Tension gripped Sarah as she took a seat across from him. "What do you have to tell me?" He opened a folder, the rustle of papers loud in the otherwise quiet diner. "There are assets, properties, investments. And yes, it includes an inheritance that is substantial, but it comes with conditions." Her heart raced. Could this windfall be the salvation she had never anticipated? Conditions? Yes. You must prove your commitment to your family, the one you're building now with those kids. This isn't simply handed over. It's about showing how you can change their lives. His words hung in the air, and a weight settled in her stomach. Almost instinctively, she thought of the laughter shared around her kitchen table. She thought of the dreams she envisioned for Jonah, Marco, and Lily. "Isn't that what I'm doing already? Fighting for them every day?" "True," he replied. "But the clear objective is to show that without love, wealth can become another form of isolation. You'll need to showcase to the trust that you're genuinely invested, not only in your success, but in theirs." The realization hit her like a freight train. This was about so much more than money. It was about breaking cycles, demolishing walls, and building connections. All the feelings she had buried, all the struggles she had fought, were suddenly on display. What do I need to do? He leaned forward, a hint of admiration flickering in his gaze. Share your story. Show your commitment. Bring those children, let them voice their dreams, and let us present a united front to the estate. If we succeed, the inheritance can become something transformative for you all. Sarah felt a rush of determination. Then let us do it. The conversations flowed, this unexpected twist reshaping her reality. When she stepped out of the diner, the harsh daylight felt different. It shined brighter, reflecting her newfound resolve. Can we go home? I want to tell everyone. Jonah piped up, excitement bubbling over. Yes, but with one condition. She glanced at Tom, a smile growing on her face. We have work to do first. As they piled back into the car, she felt the energy in the air shift. They were more than just individuals now. They were intertwined destinies. The drive home felt electric, everyone lost in thoughts of the future. And for the first time in a long while, Sarah felt whole, like she was on the brink of something truly beautiful and transformative. When they returned to the diner, she called an impromptu meeting for the kids. Their eyes sparkled with curiosity as she explained what she learned. We are going to show them everything we can be, she said, determination echoing through her heart. We'll share our dreams, our laughter, and how love can shape our futures. In that moment, surrounded by the warmth of their joy, Sarah knew they would rise together, embracing the path of uncertainty while building their dreams brick by brick. It was about family, love, and the promise of a new dawn. The fire in her heart burned brightly as they began their new journey together. Now, it's your turn to join this heartwarming journey. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that are bound to inspire you. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show your support. Comment your reactions and feelings about the ending. Let's connect over these transformative moments. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.